Hello, today I'm going to show you how to do a quick and dirty little project that lets you drag and drop between two custom controls. So first I'm going to start a new Windows Form project. I'll call it Draggy. And we'll keep our basic form shape. So first I'm going to actually have to add two custom controls. One of them will be called the object holder. That's what we'll drag objects into. And we'll also add a color palette. I'm going to clear out the paint background and add a reference to drawing 2D, which will let us do hatch brushes. So in paint, I'm going to fill our background with a new hatch brush, hatch style. This one, let's do a dark downward diagonal, gray and dark gray. And we'll fill our entire client rectangle with that. That's in our color palette. I'm going to copy these two methods over to our object holder. Oops, don't need the designer for those. To our object holder in the code. I'll just replace that with this, and we'll use somewhat different colors. Let me add that drawing 2D reference again for hatch brush. Let's do a different style as well. Sure, diagonal across. And then let's make it a little bit colorful. Let's try dark blue and what goes well with that? Dark olive green. That sounds delicious. Okay, let's just go ahead and build. And then we'll add these two custom controls. So I'll right click in my toolbox and do choose items. And I'll browse and I'll find the executable that I just built and open that. And that added our color palette, and somewhere else is our object holder. So I'll hit OK, then I'll scroll down to find those, object holder, and color palette. So I'll take my color palette over here, and we'll put our object holder over here. That looks pretty good. Let's save everything now. From our color palette, we are going to need a few things. We're actually going to need items to drag off of it. So I'll make a list of colors. It starts out empty. And I'll have a public method to add a color to that, which will just add it to our list and invalidate ourselves. These little buttons are also going to need a size, so let's go ahead and set something like that. I could make this a property and do the invalidation, but right now we'll just hard code it. Okay. I'm also going to add something that returns a rectangle to draw into or to click from, depending on what color it is. So get color rectangle, and we'll pass in the color in question and return the rectangle that corresponds with it. So we're going to need to get an index out of our list of colors, index of color being passed, If index is -1 rather, it's because it's not in our list, so we don't care. Oop, actually, I'll just return an empty rectangle in that case. Otherwise, we'll need to decide how many colors can we fit in one row in our control. So, by num colors x, we'll do client rectangles width divided by our color size, which is 32 up here. So then we can decide what the x and y coordinates of our index is by doing index modulus num colors x, which gives us which column into the row it's going to be, and color y will be index divided by colors x. So if we're on color 6 and we can do 5 each row, 5 modulus 6, or rather, sorry, 6 modulus 5 is going to be column 1, and in 6 divided by 5 is going to be 1, so we'll have 1 and 1. So anyway, we will build our basic rectangle of that by going color x times our color size, color y times our color size, color size for our size. And to give a little bit of distinction between which buttons, I'm gonna deflate, actually using inflate, negative color size divided by 10 and negative color size divided by 10. So if we're at 32, 32 divided by 10 is approximately 3. So we'll subtract 3 from the width and the height of our rectangle. The reason I like inflate is because it'll subtract it or add it based on the center point. So we don't actually move the location of our thing. Anyway, let's return that rectangle. And again, we'll use that for both drawing and for mouse hit detection. So in our paint, for each color in our list of colors, we will have a rectangle, get color rectangle, color. And PE graphics fill rectangle, new solid brush of our current color into our current color rectangle. And that actually handles everything that we have to draw. The only other thing that we need to do here is actually do the drag and drop thing and get that started. So protected override on mouse down. We'll use this event. We'll just loop through all of our colors, get their rectangles, and see if our mouse point is in any of them. For each color in colors, rectangle RC equals get color rectangle of that color, and then if that rectangle contains our mouse event args dot location, then we know that the mouse is actually in the rectangle of whatever color this happens to be. So we would be done at that point. We found it. So we'll return after we do our magic here. This magic is going to be begin, drag and drop with this color. We'll use the do, drag, drop, which is a method of our control. Do, drag, drop with, and this is where it gets a little funky. Colors, let's see if this will work. If I go to the definition here, the color is actually a struct, not a class. So that makes it a little tricky because we need an object here. Let me show you something real fast if you're not already aware. A color XYZ cannot be set to null. Cannot convert null to system.drawing.color because it's non-nullable value type. So we can't do that. It's not technically an object. Or maybe it'll work, I don't know. But I didn't have success with it. So what we're going to do instead is actually take our color to known color and to string. The reason we don't just do color.toString is because it'll actually give you a format like this. Oops. It'll give you a format like that. Now if we do color.fromName and then pass in that, it actually won't give us a color back. But if we remove this color piece and do color from name tomato, it'll give us color.tomato. So by, in fact, even check this out. From name, oh, they just hide it in here nicely. A string that is the name of predefined color. Valid names are the same names as dot known color enumeration. So magically by converting it to a known color and then getting the string, we'll have just tomato. Anyway, drag, drop, effects, we'll say move. And so far as I'm aware, this effects just decides what the mouse cursor is going to look like. Whether it has a little plus sign if you're doing a .copy, things like that. So but that's it, actually. This will basically initialize, drag and drop with a string that represents the color that we have found that the mouse is within. If that all makes sense. This class is actually finished. On the object holder side, we'll do some more magic here. In our constructor, we'll go ahead and by default set allow drop to true. And then there's two other methods that we have to implement for drag and drop. Protected override on drag enter. There's also a drag over. You can actually use either one or both, and should work. I'm not off the top of my head, I don't know what the distinction is between the two. But what this will do is we'll take our drag event args and set the effect again to move, and that will assign the cursor basically saying yes, you can drag and drop here. If we didn't have this, then it would show the that icon, the no icon. If we use .move, it'll show this one that you can see. That's weird. Anyway, okay, so that's all good. Now we need to actually catch that on drag drop. And essentially what we'll need to do here is get that color back out of it. And this is a little funky, and it kind of depends on the data type that you're sending. But in our event, under data, we call get data, and then there's several overloads here. I have best luck with using data formats dot, and then one of the standard ones. We'll do string format because we did export things in a string. So we'll have a color name that we're catching here. And of course, get data returns just a simple object, so we will use the as string. And if color name is null, then don't do anything. Now we can use color.fromName and give it that name. But we need to add this to somewhere. And the way I'd like to set it up is actually wherever I drop the color, I want a box there. So in the DRG event, they actually give us the X and Y, the mouse coordinates in screen coordinates. So we'll need to convert that into client coordinates for the purpose of drawing, or if we wanted to extend it later for the purpose of dragging from this control and detecting what object was selected. So I'll make a mouse point to client, new point, drg event x, drg event y. So that will bring our screen coordinates into a point object and then go from screen into client, and we can use that mouse point. Now we're going to need some object to hold both the point and the color. So I'll make a private class here called thingy, which will have a position, a color, and I'll even throw in a size as well. And in the constructor, we'll accept all of those items. And initialize. And I'll set the size to be random, so we'll just make a little random item thing. And I forgot something else. We need to have a list to store these items. So private list for thingy, and we'll appropriately call it thingies. So thingies, add a new thingy of the mouse point, which is in client coordinates, the color that we were able to extract, and a random number between 10 and 100. And then we'll invalidate so we can actually see it. I think the only thing left is to actually draw these thingies. So in Paint, for each thingy, and thingies, we'll need a rectangle to actually draw at. So I'll set the x coordinate to thingy position.x minus thingy size divided by 2 plus y thingy position x and width and height, and then we'll actually draw it. Graphics fill rectangle, new solid brush of the thingy's color around the rectangle that we calculated. And I think that covers it. Let's go ahead and build. It looks like it did before. Oh, I forgot one thing actually. We need to actually add some colors to our palette. I'll just do this in the form load event. We could do this anywhere. So color palette, add color, which is the method that we added. Tomato. Add color. Let's add rosy brown. Let's add purple. Lime. Magenta. Mouse blue. Corn silk. Floral white. Khaki. And pale green. That should be fine. Let's run it now. Alright, so as you can see, we have our items. They kind of look almost like they're floating because we scaled those rectangles down a little bit. And it looks like, I would say preferably I'd center this out, but looks okay for now. If I click and drag on one of these items, we have our no cursor, but when we drag into here, that works. And then when I release, it puts a box there. And randomly a bigger box, and a big box, and stuff like that. So if I click anywhere else, we don't do anything. So that's about it. Other additions I would make is obviously to expand this object holder. control to let us zoom in and out, pan around perhaps, to click and drag and delete these objects. I would probably also replace these objects with something cool, but this gets the basic idea across. That's about it.